So really coming into the room. Putting the mind where the body is. In the present moment. In the conditions that exist here and now. Letting the body be anchored into the foundation of the chair or the floor, the cushion. Allowing the spine to just move gently into an upright and energetic position, a column of energy through the torso and the back and the neck, without becoming rigid or stiff. Letting the arms just drop from the shoulders and the hands. Relax into the lap, bringing some intentionality to them. Our hands can let us know when we're moving into anxiety or dullness. And just letting the chin drop a bit. And the crown of the head. Gently float toward the ceiling. We're allowing a balance of uprightness, energy, and relaxation, receptivity. An unentangled awakeness. But the mind has a tendency to move into the future, into the past, into worries and concerns that arise. So we give it an anchor, we give it something to do. Maybe it's the rhythm of the breath at the heart or at the nose to return again and again to. Sensation in the body. Or a skillful mantra, Buddho, kindness, gentle. And then remembering when the mind scatters to return to this anchor. And just as important when the mind settles, remembering to let it go. And enjoying the peace of quiet presence. A short passage from Ajahn Chah to start us. If you see things with real insight, then there is no stickiness in your relationship to them. They come pleasant and unpleasant. You see them and there is no attachment. They come and they pass. Even if the worst kinds of defilements come up, such as greed or anger, there is enough wisdom to see their impermanent nature and allow them to fade away, to just fade away. If you react to them, however, by liking or disliking, that isn't wisdom. You're only creating more suffering for yourself. Something that feels important to understand about the Buddhist teachings is how he taught about the senses, the sense bases. We're taught the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch, and is that it? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and then body, the touch. I can't remember 5, how am I going to remember 6? But the Buddha taught about 6 sense bases: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the movement of the mind. So thoughts and emotions, things coming up in the mind. And there are dozens of suttas that talk about the 6 sense bases, analogies upon the analogies, and the Buddha and his disciples coming back again and again to this topic. I got hooked on this daily sutta website recently, which is a really good thing to get hooked on. But the month of December has been all suttas on the 6 sense bases. And after like 10, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Well, I got it before even. I knew that. I know this. But sort of sinking in every day a little bit into this seminal, foundational teaching of the Buddha, really drove home how important it is and how it's not really widely understood, even though it's a foundation of practice. So you can picture how your 5 senses work and how the mind moves toward what it likes and what it doesn't like. In fact, since I'm in an interactive mood today, just maybe we take a moment right now and look at anything, just anything. Allow the eyes to lay upon anything or anyone in here for a moment and see what is the initial response. Is it, oh, I like that. That's lovely. I'm so appreciative of that. Or conversely, ugh. I think we all know that response, ugh. It's not the worst thing that ever happened, but I wish it would go away. Maybe this TV, between me and Jessica Marlett, like maybe she doesn't like sitting behind this. Too, I like it. I look at it and go, oh, because all the people, but maybe somebody behind it goes, ugh, every time they see it. Or who knows what, or these beautiful stained glass windows, oh. And beyond oh and ugh, we can sense even a subtler response. So maybe look at something else now and then see what the body does. Does the body subtly move toward it? Does the body subtly retract or contract? We can tell if we like something or we don't like something, even if it's not a big sort of fireworks of emotion. We move toward it or we move away from it. And I've talked a lot about that up here because it's really important to know what our responses are when we see something or hear something or smell something or taste something or touch something that we don't like or that we do like. Because it lets us know how balanced we really are. Oh, there's no movement at all. There's an equanimity, an equipoise. Oh, I don't particularly like that, but I'm not contracting from it. I'm not moving right away to wanting to fix it. I don't go straight away into a space of anger or frustration or ill will toward it. That means we're doing the work. It's manifesting. The results are manifesting. But the longer we do this practice, the more refined we can be with our responses and our reactions. And the best place to do that refining process is in the body. Move toward, move away, relax, retract. Our body knows what's happening in the mind. And ultimately, we can learn to like and dislike things, as Ajahn Chah was saying, without there being any movement in the heart. I like it, as Ajahn Sumedho was once said about a beautiful sort of woman or group of women. I like it, but I don't want it. I like it, but I don't want it. And that is emotional maturity. And I like it, but I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm not moving toward it. I know I like it. It's obvious. Someone likes fudge. I brought all the fudge. So eat it. I'm over it, but I like it, but I also want it. So it's a problem. It's turning into a problem. But what's important to recognize, so all of that, you can sort of intellectualize that very easily. It doesn't take a whole lot it doesn't take a PhD to understand liking and disliking. And, if you're on this path, to see where that can take us off the rails. I mean, you can look at any extreme example of addiction, or addiction on one end and murder on the other. That's liking and disliking. Right? Most of us are somewhere in here with liking and disliking, but if you extrapolate to the extreme, you can recognize the energies, that attachment to liking and disliking, to wanting and not wanting, where that can lead. And we see it all the time in the news and in communities, maybe that we've only heard about, that we've never experienced directly. But we know it exists. What we don't spend as much time digging into is this sixth sense space, which is the mind. So I'm sorry to do this to you, but you could close your eyes right now and bring up something in the mind that you really like. It feels so good. I want it. It goes very quickly from that's lovely to I want it, or to I want to repeat it, or to I want it again. And conversely, I'm really sorry about this, you could bring something up into the mind that agitates you every time. I hate that. I have to fix it. I have to sort it out. I have to rail against it. I have to get rid of it. I have to annihilate it. Very quickly, when the mind brings up something that we like, we want to move toward it, we want to repeat it, we want to get it. I've never been to Hawaii, but I feel like if I had, that's what I would spend my time thinking about. The beautiful beaches of Hawaii felt very attractive and interesting to me. Oh, Hawaii. But also, something I love, something I like is my family. Oh, I love them. I like them. I feel kind of happy when I think about them. Some of them. Oh, then there's that other piece. Same coin, guys. Oh, but I don't like this. I don't like this about them. Or I don't like this one so much. They're clearly wrong. And you know what? Some of them are clearly wrong. And sometimes I'm clearly wrong, and sometimes you're clearly wrong. But what does the heart do with that? It does the same thing with thoughts that arise, emotions that arise, sankharas, that it does with the eyes, the ears, the nose. I can tell who's thinking about Hawaii and who's thinking about their awful uncle. That's the face. The eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and the mind. They elicit these sensory impingements that we come in contact with. They elicit the same responses. Because what is a memory? What is a thought pattern? What is a plan? But something that we have experienced through the senses already, and now we're replaying it, we're remembering it, we're going there. And so, as we work to temper, not repress, not shove aside, but temper the response in the heart to that which we see, that which we hear. I wish there was a car alarm right now, because then there'd be a great auditory example. Right now, everything's quite pleasant. Well, maybe if you don't want to be hearing me talk, it's not pleasant at all. Been there. Just let the sounds move through like a breeze through the screen door. That's what we can do. Oh, I see it, but I don't want it. I see it, but I don't not want it. I'm right here, being with the conditions as they are. And that doesn't mean that there isn't work to be done, because there is work to be done. But can we do that work, that real, serious work, from a place of equanimity, from a place of equipoise, from a place of love, generosity, and peace? Not always. Maybe next life. Easier said than done. But it's what the Buddha taught. And so it's worth exploring. And in my experience, it's really fun, just to take a morning to look at everything through the lens of Dhamma and see how the mind just goes and goes from this is my feeling, positive, negative, neutral. Like, dislike, don't care, to this is my impression of it, this is what I know about it, to this is what it means about me. That is the faucet, you turn on the faucet of sensory impingement, and pretty soon you're in the pool of conflict. This is what it means about me. A second ago, it didn't even exist. I wasn't even thinking about it. You have to wonder, how did this thought even pop up in my mind? Right? And if you're wondering, how did this thought even pop up in my mind, then it's just another conditioned phenomenon passing through the senses. Like if a bird flew in here right now, I don't think I'd like that. But I wouldn't have had anything to do with it. It would just be a bird flying through. And honestly, that's what most of our thoughts are. They're just a bird flying through. And what we can do, though, over time, is we can make better use of our environment. We can close the doors, keep the bird out of here, close the sense doors a little bit. We keep out violence or overstimulating activities, or other people's anger and frustration, whatever. We don't need to pick it up. Close the sense doors a little bit, invite peace. But it's the same. How do we keep the bird from flying through? And then when it does, what do? Like if a bird flew in here and I went into a total panic and started running around in circles and grabbed a bat, you would not think that was very cool. It would not be a good look. It'd be a terrible look. And I don't think I would do that. I think I would probably go, okay, there's a bird. Dansky is probably what I would. What do we do? Or Dansky. You need to be prepared for anything. Dansky, what do we do? Oh, there's a bird. But I don't think I'd fly off the handle. And we need to be able to trust ourselves with any bird that flies through, don't we? That we're going to respond appropriately and usefully and skillfully and maybe even independently of Dansky. Maybe even independently of our group of peers, of our support system of our parents and teachers. What are we going to do? And we can begin to prepare ourselves. When this thought comes up in the mind, I get really out of sorts. Well, what can I do to prepare myself? Because these thoughts, they're patterns. They just, you might have noticed the same thing coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. If it's a pattern, then you have some control over building an appropriate response to it, which is lovely. That's the Buddha's teaching. There is dukkha, there is stress, things do come up, and there are all of these tools to deal with it. And we can begin over time to get ahead of those scenarios and build appropriate responses. All right, so I think I'll leave it there. Are there any questions coming up or stories, any birds to talk about? Yes.
This is really an important topic because it oftentimes runs counter to the narrative of the thought leaders in our society. And I referenced my own kind of career where we had lots of conflict, and the thought leader or executive officer in the situation says, I want you to feel like this, like I do. We're going to get these people, we're going to get them out. And it was all built about conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And when one could not reference and mirror the anger of that person, then you weren't part of the team.
Yeah.
So in reality, it takes courage.
Yeah.
Real courage to go against the grain when someone that your livelihood or your rank depends on says, I want you to feel about this way I do.
Mm-hmm.
So the quantumous courage that's associated with this is really important when you just say, I cannot do it.
Yeah.
I cannot feel that way. I'll execute the job, but I will not feel it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the resolutions that I have this next year is courage.
Yeah.
How do I do this in a quantumous way to not let my mind be taken in the direction of other persons?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is so important to me.
Yes. I'm loving that term courage lately. That's never come up over my meditation career for me too much, but it's been kind of a theme the last 6 months to a year, courage. And sometimes sattva, which is faith in this tradition, sometimes sattva is Pali and then it's translated often as faith, but confidence is a better translation. Well, I've seen it for myself and I know the Buddhist teachings and I have confidence, but also sometimes I've heard it used as courage. I've seen it for myself and I know myself and I know the Buddhist teachings and I have the courage to act from a place of integrity. I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I was just going to share when you started the exercise of just looking at something and looking at your reaction to it. I had the benefit from the seat that looked right out of the windows. And I was looking at the stained glass window and thinking, just sort of beautiful sort of fluidity of the colors of it, and my eye kind of dropped down through the HVAC. My first reaction is, oh, don't like. And then I just kind of kept looking at it and realized, I really do like it. I love the orderly lines of it. I love the symmetry of it, and it was just a really good exercise to remember that my initial reaction is just an initial reaction.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't have to go anywhere. from there, like an extreme, I always go to the extreme absurd because that helps me understand the lesson, but the extreme absurd was you run over there and pull it off the wall, you know? This is ugly, I hate it. You know? That's the extreme absurd, but that's, we get to hear of the extreme absurd, but we know it's happening. Thank you. Yeah, Kyle.
A really powerful simile that I've heard about the senses or the sense organs that I've read is referred to them as the chopping block and butcher's knife. And that we're always slicing things up with our discernment into piles of the good, the bad, or even the neutral. But relaxation is really about not needing things to be good or bad or even neutral, but to set down the knife.
Yes. Thank you. Well, an analogy in the teachings is grabbing a snake, you know, in the middle, or grabbing a snake by the head, it's going to bite you. But you grab a snake by the tail, it's still going to bite you. Good, bad, no, liking, disliking, positive, negative, moving toward, moving away, it's still going to bite you. And beyond good and evil is where we're headed. Beyond views and opinions. Yeah.
Okay, I have a parable.
Great.
We talk about not wanting to, not pushing away things that displease us. But my problem is I push away things that please me. Right? Like, oh, I get this thing that make me happy, but now I want to be grumpy, or I'm just gonna get hurt. Or it's like I don't deserve it. But the other day, we have a neighbor cat that kind of wanders around, and I noticed, he was like sitting right in front of my door. I says, oh, yeah, I should let the cat in. So he comes in and he just sits and snuggles with me on the couch. And now it's like he sees me and then he'll like run up and join me. So yeah, don't be afraid to let in the cat.
That applies in like every situation. I love it, thank you. Well, a happy mind is an easily concentrated mind, and a happy mind is on the way, is on the path. It's just, what are we making ourselves happy with? It starts with the cat, and eventually we let go of the cat, and the happiness gets more and more refined, but we have to start somewhere. All right. Okay, any more questions or parables? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm like a virtuous kind of loop. Been thinking about kind of talking to people who are stuck and feeling stuck in certain ways, and then how do you kind of bootstrap out of that? And, just thinking, like the idea that reflecting on your, how do you say that, virtues or your virtuous deeds,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, like moment by moment, if you're feeling metta or your breath or watching your breath, you have this wholesome intention. And if you reflect right back on that in the moment, you can generate a pretty positive feeling kind of about yourself, or have more of that independent faculty.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. We've got to use these experiences. I mean, that's what sankharas are. That's what, thoughts and emotions are. And if we have done things that we can bring up purposefully, bam, there's the cat. There's the happy.
It just kind of came to me that I was doing that thing, you know what I mean? And I can reflect right back on that. Like, we're all basically doing that. So
Yeah.
I'm happy about that.
Exactly. If you get grumpy later today or next week or in the new year, just remember this, of spending an hour and a half completely skillfully. Nobody this morning has killed anyone or lied, or stolen anything, or, cheated on their partner, or as far as I can tell. I've been watching you the whole time, or gotten, drunk or I've had my eyes open a lot of this period, and then you can think about that. You can remember that. I spent a whole hour and a half like being really skillful. That's amazing. And builds a habit to do it for another hour and a half. Jessica, did you have?